Hey everybody. So last week we talked about an old recording called The Blueprint from 1995, the first recording that sort of kicked off the North Project, right? And I mentioned in that video that there was one other person who appeared on that recording by the name of Will Van Campen who helped me record it and who put some tracks down on one of the songs. Well, turns out I made a mistake. I completely forgot that there is another person who appeared on that recording. And even in, if you remember, a handful of weeks ago, I did a video based on a question that came in from a viewer about all the people who had contributed to North over the years, and I even mentioned Will Van Campen appearing on that original recording. And I forgot this person then in that video as well. So this is kind of a total brain fade on my part, that there was a second person who technically, although it was a sort of in a funny way, appeared on that recording in 1995. So the first item on my agenda for this week's video is an erratum to say I was wrong. There's a second person who appears on that 1995 recording, and next week I would actually like to do a video on that person, the first in the series from that viewer, Netmouse, who asked about all the people who contributed to North over the years. I'd like to kick off that series with this unique person who made this appearance on the Blueprint in 1995. So apologies, Nate. We're going to talk about you next week in detail. Nate actually appeared on that recording on the solo a cappella piece, the one that was recorded in the basement of the dorm that I mentioned last week. So it's a funny story how he appears on the recording, but it turns out that he's actually touched the North Project in multiple ways over the years, and we're going to talk about that next week. So that solo a cappella piece that he appeared on is a great segue into my next topic, which has to do with another solo a cappella piece that I wanted to hit this week and send out as a freebie, a couple of versions of it that hardcore North fans will probably have heard already, but maybe not everybody has, so I wanted to share them. On Revolutions in 1999, the first sort of rock EP, if you will, there was a solo a cappella piece called The 59th Day that was recorded. As I mentioned last week about the Blueprint, I sort of, that a cappella piece was on the Blueprint to sort of stake out the idea that North recordings might always have something a little different on them, something a little bit outside the sort of folk or rock mainstream concept. In Revolutions, there was a similar piece, and it was this solo a cappella piece that was done on there. The 59th Day was kind of a traditional Irish tune. I want to say in the credits I didn't even claim that I wrote it. It's sort of such a traditional kind of Irish folk song melody. I can't even necessarily claim that I wrote the music for it, although the words are original. And the song was inspired by an event that took place on February 28th, the 59th day of the year in 1998, is when the song was written. So I thought that this coming Saturday, being February 28th, the 59th day of 2015, I thought it might be fun to put these tunes out here. So Revolutions had the solo version of the a cappella piece, and then the Orange Lights EP, which I mentioned a couple of times. Again, this was a limited edition EP. There were, I think, only about 80 of them or so that were made that are out there. And because there are even some North fans that don't have this, I thought that I would release as a freebie the 59th Day version from this recording. The 59th Day, as it appears on Orange Lights, was a different version of the song that kind of evolved over the years. So as I mentioned, the song was originally written just solo a cappella. It was just kind of this stripped down. I've heard people who've heard it call it almost a wailing song. It's kind of this almost sad, lilting kind of a cappella piece. When Christine Kapusky came on board with the project, at some point I started playing around with the idea of making it a counterpoint piece. I wrote a second set of lyrics which are similar to the first but rearranged in a sort of fun kind of way. Each verse is almost palindromatic in that the lyrics of the verse are kind of rearranged almost backwards in the counterpart part that Christine sings, and wrote a second vocal part to go against the first. And Christine and I played around with singing that as a duet at many of the North shows. And I'm trying to remember, Christine came back onto the project maybe around 2000, 2001. That was probably around the time that we started singing that piece as a duet. And a lot of people liked it. We got some interesting feedback on it. Even people who had heard the Revolutions version were like, wow, this song is like a whole new thing kind of with the second part. So when we were recording the Orange Lights bonus EP in 2008, we decided we wanted to put a version of that counterpoint version of the song on the EP. And what we also did kind of for fun while we were in the studio recording that was we thought we would put this neat kind of drone part behind it, just this fifth drone, a perfect fifth, a musical interval, if you will, between, gosh, I can't remember what key the piece is in now. I think it's an A. But, so it would be the A and the E. So a musical fifth, a perfect fifth, is an interval that appears a lot in Celtic instruments. You'll hear it in Irish music sometimes, droning on background parts. It appears in Scottish music and bagpipes, some of the drone pipes that are playing behind the chanter, which carries the melody part, often features that perfect fifth. So we kind of thought it was fun to put that down as a background part behind the counterpoint part that Chris and I sing. And it was actually Owl, our Afro-Cuban percussionist and also vocalist for the North Project, who sang those two parts in the track, multi-tracked in the studio. Recorded it twice, once on each part. So the result is really a 4-part version of the song, but the melody and the counterpoint are really the main parts that are moving, and the rest is just kind of this background layer that sits there. So anyway, what I thought I'd do this week is put out a freebie, item number 2 on my agenda, and release both the Orange Lights version, which is the 4-part version that maybe some people haven't heard, especially because this was a limited edition run. And just for folks who are new to the project and maybe don't have Revolutions, the original North EP from '99, I put up the original 59th Day from this recording as well. Both of those are on North's YouTube channel, and links are appearing in the video as I'm talking about it, and I'll put them in the description as well, so that you can kind of check them both out, compare, contrast, whatever you'd like to do. And next week, I'm looking forward to getting into the first of our series on North contributors, and this mystery person who I'd forgotten about. Sorry about that. From the Blueprint, who played a small but critical part in the strange a cappella song from that recording. We're going to talk about him and all the ways he's touched the project over the years. So see you next week.